Hello, everybody. Hold on. Somebody's trying to call me.
Hi, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us for another conversation. I know yesterday we meant to hop on, but I was sick yesterday, y'all. I'm feeling much better today. So thank you guys so much for your messages, your text messages, your prayers, and all the things. But we have a really good topic tonight. Might be a little triggering, but it's a good topic, right, Meiyoko?
Absolutely. It's something that you and I have been talking about for the
Hmm.
past couple of days.
Yes. We've been talking about this for the past couple of days. And I think this is a good time. Can y'all hear me good?
You're good.
Good. Okay. I think it's a good time for us to bring this conversation to the forefront because, we find that a lot of people are out there in the world building businesses while healing, right? Helping people while healing themselves,
Right.
elevating people while healing themselves,
Right.
empowering people. We talk about thought leadership all the time, empowering people while healing themselves. And a lot of times when you're in the process of doing all these amazing things, healing yourself, elevating yourself, empowering other people, sometimes it for other people can make you feel like or seem like you're the villain, right? And there's
Absolutely.
so much backlash that comes from that. So we
Mhm.
want to dive into this conversation today because you're not alone. I want to say that, Miyoko and I would tell y'all that from day one always, that you're not alone, and and most people who are in a really high or experienced position in their life in their business all go through the same thing. You're not different.
Right.
You're not set apart from everyone else. You're in the right track. You're going through the process, but these are just challenges and speed bumps that we all have to go through, myself and Miyoko included.
Hmm.
So we invite you guys to come on to this conversation. If you watch this on a replay, go ahead and type in hashtag replay. Go ahead and share this out. And this is a really, really good point that we want to make. And, Miyoko did a great post yesterday talking about this particular conversation, which is why we're bringing it up today. But for you, Miyoko, what has brought you to sort of come full circle with wanting to really talk about this?
I feel like I feel like healing and self-advancement is frowned upon by particular people. And I feel like we don't talk about that enough. People talk about the excitement and the inspiration that comes when you start to learn different things about yourself. You start to grow and you start to fulfill those passions that you have and you start to pursue these things. But what a lot of people don't talk about or they don't realize is that you're going to get pushback from some people. Those people are going to be people that like you the way that you were or the way that you are. So they're not going to support your change. And what happens a lot of times in those situations is the pressure becomes so bad that they revert back to those particular people who they once were, or they don't make the steps to change at all. And they don't have that awareness. They don't have anybody telling them that this is what's going to take place. So then they start to question whether or not they're doing the right thing, making the right decisions. And then
Hmm.
it becomes a vicious cycle over and over because what happens is the feeling to change will come up again and again and again and again. And if they don't have that proof or have people like you and myself to tell them, hey, this is normal, this is going to happen, they're going to continue to go back into the same vicious cycle. So that's why I posted that. You know, what people don't realize based on what I do, oftentimes I get messages, I get DMs, I get phone calls from people's husbands, um,
Hmm.
significant others, friends,
Hmm.
family,
Hmm.
because they're making these changes. And some of them are very positive, and then
Hmm.
some of them are very negative. Some of them are people that are trying to keep them trapped, keep them prisoner, keep them held back.
Hmm.
And that's just part of it. Not everybody is going to respect, going to expect, and going to support your healing.
Right.
You're transitioning into better, into
Hmm.
greater for yourself. And I think that's
Hmm.
something that needs to be talked about more often.
Hmm. 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 And I know a lot of people while they're going through that, they end up questioning themselves of whether or not
Absolutely.
it's right. I know I've done that. So it's that I love this conversation. I know we may need to do a part two to this because I know that once this gets out there in the algorithms and more women and men start to listen to this video, they're going to identify it to themselves and they're going to then say, wait, something's not right.
Right.
in their current life, in their current situations, that this is not okay. Whatever's happening to you is not okay. It's not normal.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
It's not something that, it's not normal, and you're also not alone in the process. Which brings
Right.
us to our first point that we want to mention to you guys today is growth isn't always applauded. Like, I learned that the hard way. You think that, hey, you left your job. You that's a huge accomplishment. You think that, hey, you're finally making money. You're starting to get clients. You're starting to get customers. You got a business. You're out there. You're on stages. You're
Mhm.
traveling, right? And you want that applause, and when it doesn't happen for the people that you expect it to be from, it's disheartening, especially by the people who benefited from
Mhm.
from your silence. You know what I'm saying? Benefited from that. So for me, it hits home because of the simple fact that it made me start to grow more to applaud myself
Mhm.
and not wait for other people to applaud me. Your growth is not always going to be applauded. It's not even always going to be respected. It's not even always going to be appreciated. It's not even always going to be honored. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not even always going to be announced. There's so many people that Meiyoko and I both follow that are out there really, really doing amazing things in life and business and stuff, but it took them years to even get the accolades and the applause and whatnot, where you get more resistance than people actually say, hey, you're doing a great job. Hey, you empowered me. Hey, you helped me, all the things. So all those things matter. How do you feel about this, Meiyoko?
I feel like the people that benefit from your silence, it's even more than silence. It's they
Mm-hmm.
benefit from your stagnation. They benefit from
Yeah,
your lack of advancement, your lack of
right.
growth. They benefit
Mm-hmm.
from that because most of the time, if often than not, those people that benefit are people that are consistently holding you back in some type of negative way, right? So if somebody really loves you, if they support you, if they care about you, if they care about your well-being, they're going to want to see you grow. They're going to
Yeah,
want to see you develop. And growth and development always consists of change.
right.
So if you're in a space or you're in a period where you're starting to change for the better and you're getting a negative reaction from those people around you,
Right.
then you might want to check your circle.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a spouse, right? They may not understand, so they may react negatively. I'm not talking
Right.
about that's
Yeah.
communication. That's getting them to understand where you're going. And once they understand that, then they'll come around. I'm
Mhm.
talking about people that literally know you're stuck in a space. They want
Mhm.
to keep you stuck in that space because it
Mhm.
allows them to manipulate you,
Mhm.
to keep you
Mhm.
stuck, to for them to solely benefit from you. It's a very selfish, very sinister state of mind that these people have. And I know
Mhm.
it's not something you're used to hearing, but we have to talk about this because so many of you are in a state where you can't take anymore. You want to change, you want better
Right.
for your life, you want to start to
Right.
grow, and you're going to encounter these types of situations and these types of people. It is
Right.
normal, it is okay. And that
Right.
also shows you that you're making the right decision and you're on the right path
Right. No
because these
question.
things are supposed to happen.
Yep. Yep. They're supposed. I love how you say it's supposed to happen. It comes
Supposed to
with
happen.
success. It comes with elevation. Every level, the new level that I'm reaching in my business, all this has to come with it in order for, God's work to happen, in order for your next level, your endurances to happen. Which brings us to the next point because we've been talking a lot about mask, and some people that's a trigger word, mask, right? So unmasking isn't betrayal, it's alignment. It's alignment, right? We all are trying to work our hardest to just to be heavily aligned with our purpose, with our passion, with our mission. You know what I'm saying? But there's so many layers to masking. I want to let you explain this, Miyoko, because this is deep. And I know for some of you who are like, want to hear what Miyoko's going to say, you're going to be blown away. But also know that we're going to dive even more deeper into this at our tour. But go ahead.
All right, so there's to me there's five masks of leadership. Six is a bonus. I'm not going to go in off all five or six of them. What I will say is we have been trained, we have been conditioned to put on masks. And what I mean by that, a lot of us go to work, a lot of us in our businesses, we put on a particular mask. We're the performer. We want to excel, we want the awards, we want the accolades, we want the multi-million-dollar businesses and all those things, right? But what's underneath the mask is somebody that's detached from their family, somebody that is not getting the attention they need, somebody that's constantly burning themselves out, somebody that's stressed out, somebody that's frustrated. But when it comes time to actually go into your business, you put on that performance mask. So they see a completely different aspect of you. So what happens is that your loved ones at home, the people close to you, see a different you than what the world sees or what the business world sees. The problem is you are completely unaligned with who you are, right? So that's one of the masks that you put on. Some of us, we're upset, we're frustrated, we feel neglected, we feel betrayed, we feel slighted, we feel like nobody sees us, nobody hears us, but yet we put on a mask, another mask, the peacemaker. You just want to be everybody's friend. You want you don't want any confrontation. You don't want to express yourself. You don't want to explain your feelings. You don't want to articulate them because you just want to kind of stay to yourself, and you don't like conflict. You don't like controversy. Any of those things that need to be addressed. That is a mask. But underneath all that, like I said, you want to be heard, you want to be understood, you feel neglected, you feel mistreated, you're frustrated, you're depressed, you're sad, all these things. But you put on that mask to get along with everybody, even though you have particular things that you want to express. So this is what I talk about. Unmasking is not betrayal, it's alignment. Once you realign yourself with who you are, what you want, what your expectations are, and you start to implement boundaries, you start to align yourself with everything. And what happens is those masks that you put on of wanting to be nice to everybody and not liking confrontation, you take that mask off and you say, hey, you know what? I don't appreciate being disrespected. I have a particular boundary that you crossed. I need to express this to you. That way you don't cross this boundary again. If you do cross this boundary again, we cannot continue in this relationship, whether it be a friendship, whether it be whatever it is, business relationship, but it's setting that boundary. That mask has now come off. So when you're listening to this, realize that you're probably wearing a mask. One of these 6 masks, I'm pretty sure. This is why you need to come to the tour, because we're going to go over a lot of this stuff. And you'll start to see that a lot of the things that you're doing is because you're wearing this mask or masks at different times,
Yep.
and you're seeking validation, which is what causes you to put the mask on in the first place. Like there's
That's
a
right.
whole system of how all this works.
Yeah.
And all of it revolves around feeling validation
Yep.
and looking for validation in the wrong places.
Yep. Yep. I
So,
would agree with you 100%.
so that unmasking has a very, very deep element, a very deep dynamic to it. But you're
Mhm.
not betraying yourself when you become yourself. You're actually betraying yourself when you're focusing on being somebody else or something else for someone else.
Man, that's what you're not portraying yourself, but you're becoming yourself. And
Yourself.
I know every woman under the sound of our voices are wearing some form of mask, and they need to take that mask off so they can get to that next level. Something is keeping y'all from keeping that mask on. So y'all gotta come to the tour so you can learn what that is, learn how to unmask yourself, and not feel like you're portraying people, key people you think who is a key person in your lives that you can't elevate. You know?
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
lastly on this, true betrayal is when you become something or someone else for something or something else, someone or something else. That's true
Mm,
betrayal.
mm, mm. Ooh, that's a whole conversation right there. That's a whole. Let's get into number 3, which is they called it distance, right? You called it peace, right?
Right.
They call it. You called it peace.
Because you're stepping away from something that no longer serves you.
Mhm.
We stay in the fire too long.
Yes, we do.
We
Mm,
stay we stay in the furnace too long.
mm.
And it's not because there's not a door.
Right.
We choose to stay there because we're afraid on what's outside of it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So you start to really discover peace is outside. Peace
Yes,
is
it is.
outside of there.
Mhm.
Because when you're only person that complains about you being distant, when you're doing the right things and you're making steps towards becoming a better version of yourself, are the people who do not benefit from that.
That's right.
And the reason why they don't benefit from that is because the more emotionally intelligent you get, the more you stay into leadership, the more you start really working on yourself, you start to really see the characteristics of other people.
That's right.
And whether or not they support your highest good.
Yep.
And
You're looking
everybody
at everybody from a different lens.
correct. So everybody that doesn't support your highest good, now you start to look at it and you see clearly. They're going to say, oh, you're being distant. You've changed. You're not the same anymore. And what they're really saying is, I used to manipulate you.
Yep.
I used to be able to talk down to you and you still be here. I used to discourage you and you still would come to me begging for approval. You're not doing any of these things anymore. Why? Because you know peace is on the other side of that.
On the other
Prosperity is on the other side of that.
Amen.
All that stuff is on the other side of that. And you may be asking yourself, what does this have to do with personal branding? Again, I reiterate, we are called Your Brand, Your Breakthrough for a reason.
Right.
Because all of this stuff we're talking about affects how powerful your personal brand can be.
100%.
You do not fix the internal things and the mental and the emotional things you have going on, that translates right into your personal brand. Many of you listening to this, it's not tactical that you're struggling with. You're great at what you do, you get results, but you don't believe in yourself. Somebody or something is telling you that you can't do it, or that you have to be like everybody else. So once you distance yourself from that, you start to experience that peace, that confidence, that belief.
Right.
But be very, very aware of who's saying that you're distant now just because you're actually going into better.
Right.
Because you decided not to stay in the fire and you're going towards the peace. It's not distance. It's not distance. It's called evolution.
Yep. That's definitely a mic drop moment. And those of you who are watching, whether you're tuning in live or on the replay, a lot of this we're going to go more deeply into this at our event. Because this is like not overload information, but this is stuff that I know you guys are watching this right now have not heard. Not at this angle, right, Meiyoko? Not at this particular angle, because nobody talks about this. Nobody talks like this. Not really on this level, but we know all of you are dealing with something like this. Everyone.
Transformation is from the inside out.
That's
and
right.
in order to really, really transform, we've got to talk about things that are internally happening in your world, here and here.
Right. And things that, help you guys to honor that best version of yourself. So you can give yourself that self-approval.
Right.
So you give that self-approval. When you have a higher level of honoring what you do and your impact, your mission, your message, your purpose, all those things, and you don't need that, like we talk about, the validation, all that. You have the mask on. You're yourself. It's a whole nother level of, that internal approval, the external and the internal approval for yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. So listen, guys, we really honestly, truly thank y'all for joining in on today's conversation. I want y'all to rewatch this video. Rewatch it, take notes, ask questions in the comments. Go ahead and get your ticket to go and join us for our upcoming tour. We're going to be in New York on August 16th, okay? We really want you guys to make sure you either grab your in-person or your live stream ticket to join us here in New York on August 16th. It's going to be an absolutely amazing event. You definitely don't want to miss it. Meiyoko and I always talk about this. 80% of what we do is self-development, because self-improvement is to be a priority in your life and in your business, because you can't do anything without it. I'm sorry, you can't, right? And then we dive into teaching y'all systems, because that is something that's important. So once you do get people in your world, in your space, paying attention to you, you know exactly what to do with those individuals to convert them, to engage with them, to also elevate them too at the same time. So this is deep, deep, deep connective coaching that I think, and I know no one is talking about right now. No one is talking about right now. They don't have the experience. They don't have the patience. They don't have everything that comes with doing what we do, which I think is needed and where everyone is going right now. Hey T, how you doing, love? Yes, yes. All right. So thank you guys so much for joining us once again. Enjoy this wonderful summer day.
Yes.
Okay. I know
Yes. I'm
I
about to get out here myself.
am. Absolutely. And we'll see
All right,
y'all next
guys.
time. Bye guys.